Good afternoon, Norcal Karters. This is Jason, and this is your weekly update. And can you believe it's already August 17th? And in a few minutes, we're going to have a very special guest on. His name is Jason Lapointe, and they have a big TrackMagic gathering going on in September. So we'll bring Jason on here in a few moments once we get through all of our events. So I'm going to blast through the events today. I will give priority to the sponsors so they get their money's worth. But again, I'm going to blast through the events. If I miss an event or go past it too fast, you can hit rewind. You can find the podcast on Spreaker, Spreaker, and then there's also Norcal Karters. And the calendar is also norcalkarters.com. So again, we have a special guest on. So that's why I'm going to go through the calendar a little bit quicker than I normally do. So this weekend, we have the CCKRA, which is the Central California Racing Association. They will be at the Fresno Fairgrounds, which they call the Big Fresno Fair. And that takes place Saturday and Sunday. So that's August 22nd and 23rd. This weekend, we also have Rock Sonoma. That location is pretty self-explanatory. It's the rock event sponsored by Sanzaru Karting, and it's taking place at Sonoma. And that's they've had a lot of momentum going. So I will personally be out there for that event. Also this weekend, Northern Nevada Kart Club, they have their night race, and that is August 22nd. So if you're not going to one of the other two events, I highly recommend you check out Reno. It's going to be a night race. They always put on a great event. This is one of their highlight events of the year, being that it's the night race. And last week we added to our calendars, we added our local race teams. They are paying for this plug, so it's full disclosure. But Team GFC Karting, Gary Carlton and his crew will be at the Rock Sonoma event. He will be supporting customers. And we started adding the race teams to our calendars because people started asking, hey, what teams are going to be there? Who else is going to be there? How do I get parts? So again, Gary, Team GFC Karting, he will be at the Sonoma event. And later in the show, we'll have, again, Jason Lapointe on, and he's going to talk about the Squadra TrackMagic group. So that's going to probably tie in pretty nicely to what Gary's doing. And let's see here. So that's this weekend. And in 2 weeks, we have, again, Northern Nevada Kart Club. They have a race on September 6th. And again, if I'm going through this pretty quickly, it's, again, I want to get Jason online and spend a lot of time with him talking about the TrackMagic program. So September 6th, Northern Nevada Kart Club, their website, nnkcreno.com. They are a calendar sponsor. The following weekend, we have the California Rock Cup Championship. They are also a sponsor of the calendar, and their website is challengekarting.com. So that's the California Rock Cup Championship. That's the West Coast Vortex Regional Series, and they are running in combination with Rock Sonoma. So that is going to take place September 12th and 13th. And once again, Team GFC Karting will be at Sonoma supporting customers. And fast forward the following week. Again, I'm going through these pretty fast. So if I'm missing them, go to norcalkarters.com, click on the calendar. We have the Rockfest West at Sonoma. So this is the Rock Festival. It's going to take place at Sonoma. So a lot of the guys that run Sonoma, a lot of the guys that are doing the Challenge Karting event. There's a number of drivers I've heard coming down from Pacific Northwest. So that is the Rockfest Sonoma event, and that is taking place September 17th through the 20th. And once again, Team GFC Karting, he will be out there. And for more information on Gary and his program, you can go to gfckarting.com. And another calendar sponsor, the Central California Kart Racing Association, on September 19th and 20th. They will be at Buttonwillow. That's a fun little track. Lots of curves at off camber, on camber, long straightaway. That's a great track to drive. So the CCKRA group will be at Buttonwillow on September 19th and 20th. And that following Monday, we have the NCK Road Racing group. So that's the NCK Road Racers. They will be at the Thunder Hill track. And the NCK, they are also a sponsor of our calendar. And they can be found at ncKroadracing.com. And I didn't really fast forward. I kind of hit every event that's on our calendar leading up to the TrackMagic events taking place in the Pacific Northwest, or Cascadia, out at Pat's Acres in Canby. And today we have Jason LaPointe. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I have the dates of September 25th, 26th, and 27th. Am I correct on those dates?
Yep, that's correct. That's because we're going to do, you're able to camp out there at that track. And part of this event is, having the fun of everyone getting together and hanging out at night, and that part in the facilities is excellent for camping. I mean, Chris Ager there has done a phenomenal job. The place is beautiful.
Well, it almost is its own campground. Like if there was no track there, he could plant a couple more trees and just call it Pat's Acres Campground. It is absolutely beautiful up there.
Yeah, it literally has a swimming hole, a motocross track, a little kids track, the go-kart facilities, and then now he repaved everything. In fact, the asphalt, which I haven't wanted to drive so bad as I do now on that track, because if you just stand on it, it is the nicest asphalt I've ever seen at a kart track. And supposedly it's the same mix that they use for the Austin F1 track. So
wow,
it looks amazing.
Now, were you the one that were about 2-3 weeks ago did the drive around the track with the video on Facebook?
Yeah, that was very professionally done, as you could tell. But yeah, that was me and my father and Chris cruising around in his UTV.
But it was effective because I remembered it.
Oh, see? Yeah, I don't think we were even planning on using it for promotion, but after we did it, I was like, people have to see this. And like, I don't know how to describe it, but I grew up at the track. I've seen it go through all these different phases over time. And to go back to it after, I think it's almost been 10 years since I went out there, I was just blown away. I need to get my kids a go-kart. I need to build myself something new, because this is so nice just to hang out here and so close to our house that I was like, why am I not doing this? I mean, that's how great the facilities look, is that it just draws you in now. You're like, wow. I would put it up against any full race car track in the U.S. as far as how nice landscape and the facilities are now. I mean, normally you'd only get that when we'd go and race on a big circuit that, there was a lot more money involved. And now it's kind of like, I kind of feel like I'm at Mid-Ohio. It's that nice. Yeah,
that makes sense. Because you're right. Sometimes it is these big national races that we go to where let's just call it like it is, the premier tracks get awarded the better events. And it's really nice to hear that Chris is putting that effort into the track. That's going to be great. And you have a group of guys going up there. Again, September 25th, 26th, 27th for this TrackMagic party. What are some of the things you have planned?
Well, just like the last year when we really kicked this thing off, I mean, we're gonna have food vendors, we're gonna have coffee vendors. We're doing, there's no racing, which is, people who aren't familiar with this, is it's a karting event that you don't have to race at. So it's all the fun with none of the stress. And so we're bringing in food trucks. We're bringing in the, stuff for the show and shine and coffee and carts. And we're going to have an endurance event with the rental carts that Chris is providing at 6 o'clock on Saturday night at 3. We're going to judge it based on more than just who wins. And, so if you're a hot shoe and you think you've got it, well, it's going to be judged on more than just your speed. It's going to be more based on, theme and pit stops and attitude. And we'll come up with some really good ones, but it's going to be fun. And we're going to have also, other things that are going to, kind of surprise people that are going to pop up on the schedule here on the TrackMagic Owners Group on Facebook in the next few weeks that I'm putting together right now. I'm waiting for some verification from some other people, but we've got some really good support in the Northwest up here. And of course, Pat Sakers has a long history with TrackMagic and a lot of its drivers. And we have a lot of people coming in from all over the place, Texas, San Francisco, all over California, and the Pacific Northwest are coming from Spokane. I believe Odenthal's are coming down, David and Joey, and they're going to be camping out. But we should have a group of somewhere 20 to 30 people camping and or rigs, plus all the people staying in them. So the camp out, and the festivities at night, sometimes they turn into more than what I've scheduled, but it's going to be fun. We're definitely have the place to ourselves after 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, it's you guys really got me hooked on your group about 2 years ago when they started doing these TrackMagic barbecues and get-togethers. And at first I thought you guys were a bunch of kind of just nutty vintage guys living in the past. And then I found myself sitting there going, wait a second, I'm not racing as much as I used to either. And going to these barbecues, you just see a lot of friends that that you've met over the years. A number of them that I've met. Some of them I've actually spent more time talking to now than I did when we were competing head to head many years ago. And you kind of get that different perspective about people. And like you said, people just show up, they bring their carts, they hang out, they talk about it. Last year was really cool when Gary Carlton was out there with his product, with the GFC cart. And then you guys were unveiling the TrackMagic cart with Gary. But what I really enjoyed was watching all the old factory guys, including yourself, you old guy, jumping in carts, pounding laps, and the rest of you were on the fence clocking each other. And
old habits die hard.
Yeah, and it's like, here you guys are, some of you 10, 15 years removed from a go-kart, but that competitive edge didn't die. And I just found myself sitting back watching you guys do that. I was like, man, they're having a lot of fun. And okay, they're not racing head to head, but someone's going to try to earn the bragging rights of who was the quickest.
I think that's the fun part for sure. It was, we didn't know that was going to happen. We all showed up, and then of course we all want to drive the same thing so we could be, judge ourselves off the other guy. And some of us, had karted later in our careers and stuff, but man, we've all been removed for it for so long. And then just to get into it again was, I remember my first couple laps, and I'm sitting there going, why is my vision so blurry? Why am I bouncing around so much? I'm not looking forward enough, And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you only did this time, and then you're like, okay, well, now I have to go fast. And, and then, some of the old instincts kick in of, trying trying to get there, but it was definitely, that was part of it. But just to see, like Kyle Martin and Oliver and Landon, the guys I raced with and tested with daily, just to watch them go out there and sit in the position they used to drive in and instantly look like, 20 years ago. And it just brings back all those memories that you had, and it brings back, and then you're sitting there going, but we're doing this today, and this is actually more fun because we were so competitive, at least, for me, I was way off the chart, serious, it was going to be my career. I was going to be, I was trying to move to cars, right? Like most of the guys try to do nowadays. And you don't really look back and think, oh, damn, that was so much fun, but now you're looking back and you're going, oh man, this is fun. And I'm having a great time today. So it's really interesting to see, that, plus the smiles on the guys on the fence when you're looking at the guys that used to wrench for us and taught us how to do things, everyone from my father to George Barros to Rich Bakke and that, and everybody that was involved in our programs, they could see, it just, makes everybody remember how great it was. And we all get together because we all remember this, and it's not just our little group. Every one of us had so many relationships throughout the entire community of karting that now we're getting all these people, that remember us. And then of course, we've started the TrackMagic brand again with Gary Carlton and GFC. And so you've got the new, the old, the in-between, the guys that just liked hanging out with us, even though they might have had a ride with Tony Kart or something at the time. And we can't race like we did. We're never going to be as fast as we were. But this allows us to be together in doing this sport that it's just, if you don't come, you just don't realize that karting can be fun without busting your ass trying to win the next race. And I think other forms of motorsports have figured this out with the motorcycle rallies, with vintage other type of events. Motorsports and car guys have figured this out a long time ago, but karting, they just haven't quite figured it out. It seems like the real vintage go-karts from the 50s and 60s had a thing going, but that era is almost like those guys that were involved are almost too old to even go to the track now. So is this the next big era around the late 90s, 2000? And then, is recreational karting something that can catch on? Can there be events like this where the so-called track days or rallies could actually spread and people could go out and do them? I'd love to see it grow, and it seems like the interest is there.
I agree with you 100%, which is why I've been so outspoken with the TrackMagic owners group. And you guys don't have an official webpage as far as I know, but if you log into Facebook and go to the search bar, just type in TrackMagic owners group. And whether you have a TrackMagic or not, these guys are pretty open. It just, you guys are building a really neat community. And I spent the first 5 or 6 minutes of my podcast talking about racing events. And every event I mentioned until I got to the TrackMagic thing, it's either a club race or a regional or a national. But it's all organized racing events. And I agree with you 100%. If we could get one event a month, like what the TrackMagic guys are doing on the calendar that we could promote, that is going to grow the sport, because we're tying into a segment of guys that may not want to admit, I don't really want to go out and race head to head in a competitive environment.
Well, yeah, karting has had turnover like crazy ever since I can remember, because it's only so long you're going to so-called race before you realize I mean, in some people's mind that they've been outspent and they can't compete because of it. So they don't enjoy themselves because they can never spin what the other guy's spinning. Or maybe they can never be as fast as the other guy is. Or, maybe they just don't want to buy new stuff all the time. Yet, their option is just to go out by themselves and drive around the track, maybe with a friend or something. And this is like going out and driving with all your friends and everybody that's in the same mindset.
Yeah.
And I cannot. I hope it does. I hope it really. I mean, I've been around karting since '81. I guess I was young when my parents got me into it and stuff, and I've seen it go up and down. I've seen road racing take off and sprint racing die, and Euro setups take off and Japanese stuff take off, and then it die, and rival series fight with each other over the same pie. And I'm going to tell you, we never thought in the late 90s, 2000, that was going to be what they are calling the golden era. We just thought it was, it could be better, and we thought it was going to get even bigger. And now we don't, you just don't know. I think the big thing is that if you have events like this that attract people and you get more and more people involved, it's easy, but it's intimidating bringing somebody out and saying you have to race if you want to have a kart. Well, why is that? I see no reason for that.
Yeah, and when you say that, I worked at a long time, for a high level engine builder, and we absolutely did not cater to the local guy at all. I'm thinking of a lot of the shops in the area or that I've come across. They don't cater to the local guy unless they were actually at the track. And when I say local guy, I don't mean the club guy that actually races a club or race. I mean the recreational guy. And everyone that I know that have raced some sort of professional level of motocross, as an example, I've met them through karting, or I've known someone in karting that knew them. That is my only exposure to high level motocross racers. But I don't have enough hands or feet to count all the people I know that have bikes in their garage that just go out to the local Prairie City track. They don't go on the racetrack. They go trail riding. They do other stuff, and they post pictures with their buddies. Oh, we're going to go trail riding today, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. They're not posting about their racing or clearing triples or anything. And that is completely a miss in karting. At least, maybe it's because I've been out of that element for so long. But I think there needs to be a bigger voice for those people. And the local kart shops need to figure out a way to manage, well, how do we take care of our... Let's not beat around the bush. A lot of times the national racers are the income source for the shops.
Right.
But it's kind of, if you're not catering to that recreational guy that goes out on a Thursday just to go pound an hour's worth of laps, that's the guy that brings his friend in, not your national level guy. Your national level guy just makes you relevant and helps grow your team with people that are already racing at the national level. And again, that's why
it doesn't always increase the pie. It doesn't always increase the amount of kart racers. I mean, that's
exactly.
And the recreational side, Pat Akers back in the day, it was Wednesday night. There'd be like 40 or 50 shifter kart guys show up, and they would only run Wednesdays, and they just showed up for fun. This was back in the mid to late 90s. But you go to the local club race, and none of those guys showed up. And, thinking back on it, that was probably the original recreational event that I've ever seen before, where, it was guys that definitely weren't interested in the events. They just wanted to go out and play with each other and have a good time. I'm thinking, after I got out of karting, I got into ATVs. And what did I do? I went to rallies, I went to events, I went to regattas, I went to, all types of stuff, Sandfest, Dune Fest, you name it. And thousands of people show up to recreate. And there would be different events, and same like we're doing. We'd all be camping. We'd be doing show and shine. There was some drag racing involved, but it wasn't anything big. It was all, where you dial in your time and then you see how close you can get to it. Didn't matter how fast you were, as long as you didn't go faster than your declared time. With the bracket racing, they had bracket racing. I don't know why karting doesn't have bracket racing. It doesn't matter how fast you are. You go out there and compete, and whoever gets closer to their time could win, kind of like a lap attack, but with a drag race format. But, there's nothing like that makes everybody, have a chance, or at least be able to PR. Like, people go out and play golf, and they're like, they can compete against their own deal. And karting's always just been heads up, beat the other guy, enter the class you think you can win or you can afford. And ATVs aren't like that. Side-by-sides now aren't like that. I've been into a lot of different types of power sports and motorsports, and even in boating now, there's, each brand has their own, get-together and different regional events, and karting can benefit from this. Shops will benefit if they quit trying to compete against trying to have the fastest guy and basically try to make it fun. It needs to be fun first to draw everybody in. It needs to be cool. And the only reason karting was really big in the 90s and in 2000s is because, and I hate to say it because they're screwing it up now, and I don't hate to say it. I like shifter carts. When you called it a shifter cart in the late 90s, it appealed to the masses. It was not a go-kart anymore. It was a shifter cart, and it was cool. And the motocross crowd flocked into it, and all these different people, found it was the new cool thing to do, and they sounded cool, and I get it. You got to run a giant air box now and a giant muffler because, I don't know, someone Italian thinks that's a cool thing or something, or sound, but it sounds like crap to me. You need to have something that sounds cool, sounds more like, something that when you hear it go by, you just want to get in it. And it had a lot of appeal. Now I'm thinking, recreational events should have appeal and should make it in the fun factor, should draw in, a big crowd. You could go on Craigslist, right? I know you, right? You go on Craigslist and you can go spend
I just bought a TrackMagic. I'm going to flip it.
You could go spend what, $1,500, and you can come up and you're cool. You don't need to spend $15,000 on a new go-kart to be cool. You can spend $1,500, and even if it doesn't run, maybe it just looks good. You're still cool. You got this thing, and you show up to this event, and it doesn't even have to be a TrackMagic. It could be anything that was cool at any point for any reason. It could be a CTS. I'm looking at them online, and I'm like, this is a cool setup. Look at this thing. I'm like, I'm not going to, I don't have a need for it, but I think it's really neat to preserve that history and some of the other carts of the era, and that's the best part. I don't want I think that will grow karting. And once you spend $1,500 and you're having a great time, that cart doesn't get uncool next year, right? It's not like that thing's going to get any more dated. Yeah. It's like you bought it and you don't have to worry about, it's going to not be competitive. No, it's going to be fun, and you can just stack it in your shop, and it's still going to be fun when you take it out, and everybody you're running with, you're going to have fun with. And that's where I'm like, that's where this needs to go to get the masses back in. Now, once you're hooked and you get your family out there and everything else, and you're like, hey, I'm getting pretty good at driving this thing. Maybe I want to try one of the new karts. And, you know, you can go to a guy like Gary Carlton or one of these other racing operations now, which everybody has, it seems like, and Rollison and PSL, and you can go buy yourself the latest, greatest, and try your hand at it. You know?
Well, let's talk about that, because here we've spent about 10 minutes talking about, you know, how good things used to be. We're doing, you know, it's like, let's remember the past. This was cool stuff. We're not quite racers. What the hell is Squadra TrackMagic then?
Well, we wanted to enter last year, and basically come out swinging with something super, super competitive, with a driver who was proven, and basically go down to the Super Nats with our group after having that nice event at Davis, and basically be able to sit up in the stands again and root for a black and yellow kart. Okay. And we had a blast. I mean, that was awesome. And then we're like, the core group, we're like, we want to keep this going. And Gary Carlton's like, hey man, Florida is the place to go for shifter kart racing now. Now, if you would have told me that back 20 years ago, I'd be like, no one from the East Coast holds a candle to the West Coast. What are you even talking about, Florida? You know? No, I guess Florida's the place. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're like, sure, let's support Matthias and go back there and let's run this program and see if we can win this thing. And
that's right.
We were
Matthias Ramirez was kind of your first driver in many, many years on a TrackMagic, was Matthias Ramirez. Yep,
Matthias Ramirez, and he had won the Rock Cup race the year before, and he got second on it the year that right before he got on the TrackMagic at the Super Nationals. He did that on a GFC, so he was first and the year before, and then second this last year. And so we knew we had a guy who could win. You know, Super Nats is hard. You know, we rented KZ motors. We wanted to compete against the best in the world, and we were out there running with the current world champion and former world champion. And, you know, it was exciting, and I thought that was really great. Now, unfortunately, I mean, halfway through the Florida Winter Tour, we had all types of things starting to take effect. One, with Matthias getting an F2000 deal that he wanted to do, which wasn't going to allow him to finish the season. So we ended up, Hunter Pickett ended up getting it. Yeah, he got in the TrackMagic for the final round because we had all the stuff back there and tried to, you know, hold it up. But man, that was the start of this whole pandemic. And my dad got on an airplane and people wearing masks and everything started to kind of get weird, right? So we kind of lost our driver, and then we're kind of like, well, where are we going to go now? And then the events were getting shut down, and so we just sat back and said, well, we just got to see what works. And the TrackMagic core group really stepped up and kept, you know, buying go-karts and going to the track with Gary Carlton and guys like Don DeLea. He was out all the time, and the interest was still there, and we definitely wanted to keep it going, but we didn't have anybody on our short list. At that point, we're like, you know, where's this brand going to go, and how can we effectively spend money if we want to do racing and recreational? How are we going to get the racing deal, you know, back on par for Gary? And it's really Gary Carlson's decision. You know, I just support that, him and the brand. But I let, you know, all the decisions, you know, where and who and what is all up to him. And, you know, ultimately, you know, I mean, we'll put in our 2 cents, but he's in it every day, and he lives, breathes, eats, and sleeps it. So what are you going to question, someone like that when I just do it for fun, no, I'm not going to question him. He can, he can run his own deal. I want to support him. His success is TrackMagic's success. So we're basically, recently just said, you know what, this thing is subsiding now a little bit, and events are happening. What can we do? And so you're really getting to the point of this last weekend and touching on it, right? So, are we back into racing? It's for TrackMagic? Yes. We are.
Yeah, I mean, you are. I mean, here we are, again, talking about the recreational, and this is what things need to get going. And on the flip side, here's Squadra TrackMagic, and this might be news to some people, but it's already out there. So who's your new driver?
Well, Gary Carlton had a lot of decisions he had to make, but here's what it really came down to is that the new driver is Cole Shade, and basically Cole has been working with Gary now for a bit, and Cole was in a unique opportunity to where he could be at Gary's shop and working with Gary on a daily basis, and that was the one thing I hoped that we could get from Matthias, was him to move out and dedicate his time full time with Gary to help build the business. No different than I did with George Barros and Fausto, and Gary did when he worked at TrackMagic, is somebody that can basically, it's not a free ride, right? It's a bust your ass deal. Yeah. And then you get TrackMagic out of it. But that's the TrackMagic way, right? It's, you get this opportunity and you're going to make it. Now, maybe he's not starting out as the Danny Formal or Matias Ramirez or Kramer, whatever, right now, but he's also young, and he's got an opportunity and he can put in the effort. And Gary and GFC is going to benefit. TrackMagic's going to benefit because he's there doing it. He's not arrive and drive. This is not an arrive and drive setup. This is not I'm going to zip up this suit this weekend and go run under this tent type deal. This is your blood, sweat, and tears is going to build and develop what your ass is sitting in. And that next TrackMagic cart that comes out is going to be built around this kid. And he's going to have input, and Gary's going to have input. And maybe it's going to be different from the other carts, because we're going to just do what it takes for, so he has the best that he can get. And I'm, that's how we know it works. And that's, I think Europe's known that for a long time, and TrackMagic knew it back in the day, and now we have an opportunity. It has to be in-house development. It has to be in-house, sweat and tears and busted knuckles, So he's got to learn how to wrench. He's got to learn how to build. He's got to learn how to tune. He's got a lot of learning to do, but he's got Gary Carlton to, shape and mold him, And if he can handle it, then he might turn into the next great driver, the next great TrackMagic driver. And if he can't, then, the brand is going to pick someone who can. But right now, Cole Shade went out and just won the first race.
Yeah.
That he entered on that thing.
Yeah.
And and it wasn't a fluke. Okay, so he qualified on pole, and he won the first heat race. And his teammate, in all respect, Hunter, is really good and really respected, and I respect him. That's why we put him in at TrackMagic in Florida. And he was able to beat Hunter in qualifying and the first heat, and then Hunter broke, and then he went on to win, and he won by quite a margin. So it's impressive that, Cole was able to go do that right out of the box. So we don't even have graphics on the thing. I mean, we're kind of like, hey, let's, see how this goes. And so yeah. So now, guess what? He gets to suit up and stripe up and get to work, right? Because you're only as good as your last race. So I look forward to seeing if he can, this dedication. And we're made sure that when we talked about it, my one stipulation is Cole's got to come up to the TrackMagic event, because I think mentally someone has to see the backing that you get with TrackMagic. You're not going to go on a Burrell or a Tony Kart and go to an event right now and have everybody go, hey man, you're our guy, right?
Yeah.
Nobody cares, right? You don't have a fan club. You don't have hundreds of people cheering you on and watching the little race monitor thing on the app, which is, I mean, God forbid karting, can you just get someone to video the things? Because, we're all like on pins and needles watching, oh shit, 41 seconds, but somebody please just, there's this thing called FaceTime. Just hold your phone up for us, because we really want that.
Well, that's the funny thing about your group too, is I'll see you guys in the Facebook group, and you guys are like all over the race monitor stuff, and it's like, oh, what's this, and it's like, oh, what happened here, what happened there, and it's just you have this community there on the OG group during these big events. Like, what, do any of you work?
I swear to God, we don't. And we're and the behind the scene messages that are actually posted on the Facebook page, between our messengers and screenshots of, oh, look at this, or look at this, and oh, look, we got this off GFC Instagram, and check out this picture, because we're trying to live it through them and without being there, and it's hard, we'd like to do more, and so, I don't know if we got to like buy a TrackMagic GoPro setup or something, but I think the more the merrier. And as far as what the group wants out of the event now, and that racing program is exciting. That's why we want it. We love to go and recreate, but we still want to root for someone that's got a chance to win, or something, go out there and prove they're the best. I mean, that's what we came from, and we still like that excitement. I mean, it's like Ferrari, I mean, you have a following if you go race for Ferrari. If you sign with Ferrari, guess what, man? You signed up, but you're going to have a history, and you're going to be remembered and stuff. And I that's what I want for TrackMagic. I want the group to, they're loyal to their, as soon as someone signs, and it's out of respect for Gary Carlson, it's out of respect for his efforts, and it's out of respect for the history that when he makes that decision, it's not lightly. It's that, we're gonna take the chance here and see what happens. And I think Cole's got a good, you take a driver like Cole, and any young driver has got really good potential, and you show them a little interest, you give them a little bit, and you give them confidence, and that they didn't have. And sometimes that little bit extra confidence is what sets them from getting second to getting first, which is what happened already. And I hope that's the case, that he realizes that, he is recognized, but he's recognized because he's going to put in the effort. And we looked hard, and I looked around. These are some good drivers. There's like 10 really good shifter kart drivers in the U.S.
You didn't call me.
And you were on the shortlisted. You were number 2, and I'm sorry, but Gary said no.
I knew it.
But he decided to sponsor this broadcast instead.
There you go.
But no, we're basically, it's so easy right now to, go just go hire someone and say, yeah, you're going to drive for me. But I looked at, and then, no offense to Greg Bell, right? Because Greg and I have a great history. And, you know, we had a lot of fun together over the years. But I've talked to Greg over the winter on different things. And because Greg set the world on fire last year, Danny Formel won everything for him. Rock the Rio, Super Nats, everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Danny had an outstanding year.
Yeah. And Danny had an outstanding year. And what happened? Right? I mean, it's like, Greg's business didn't super benefit from it. I mean, yeah, COVID hit, but it wasn't like, you know, win on Sunday, sell 1 million carts on Monday. You know, it didn't happen. And so I started thinking about that. I'm like, well, why do I want to go hire someone, you know, if I can't get out of it, or if Gary can't benefit from it? And so, it's kind of, you know, some of our conversations were like what other people have done, like Greg did, you know, and you start looking at what some of these other teams have done.
There's a few there's a few karting mercenaries out there that the following, you know, when the contract's up, they're just on something else. And, it's,
so
what I really liked is
about getting them young and building loyalty and teaching them, and they are going to have, you know, like we had, which was the utmost respect. And when you have respect, you have loyalty, and if you continue to learn and you have success, I mean, that's what makes the brand special. I mean, that's why there's a group, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say, you know, kind of growing it from within, for those that don't know, Gary Carlton and Matias Ramirez worked together for a couple of years in Florida. Gary lived out in Florida. That's where he met Matias, and they worked together. So there was that relationship there. And then his replacement driver, when he decided to go to do the car thing, was Hunter Pickett. Well, I might be a little off, but Hunter was one of the very first guys that, you know, stepped up and bought a GFC kart. And when Gary was really starting his deal, and, you know, it's neat to see, one, the cultivation of within, but I'm really excited to see the younger talent now being pushed. And it's like, all right, kid, show us what you got.
Yeah. And I want him trained in the old school, you know, and the new school. I mean, in my opinion, if the guy t-shirt is black, you know, and his hands are, you know, permanently stained, then he's getting there, you know, he's working. If he can mount his own tires in less than a minute, you know, I mean, these are like kind of what I take the guys I knew that I respected, you know, back in the day, you know, that were really good at karting, all aspects of it. And I mean, Rollison's one of them. I mean, the guy can do anything, and worked at a go-kart shop, worked at TrackMagic, drove for TrackMagic, drove for other places, was able to build an engine, and was a really good mechanic. Bobby Wilson, one of the best mechanics I've ever seen on a go-kart. He was fast. He's really good. He was good at building stuff. Like I was impressed immediately with him when I first saw him, you know, do things. And we always got along because of that. And then, you know, over the years, I kept seeing it, you know, where it got farther away from that. Now, do they have to do everything? No. But at the racetrack, there's not time to be your own mechanic all the time. But when you're out, you should be able to load your cart in your truck or your van and go out to the track and test something, you know, whether it's, you know, some type of new tire or new carburetor or new engine or new chassis design. And you should be able to read your data, test it, and come back and give input on it. And I think if you can build a driver who can develop stuff and not just haul ass, then you're going to have a really good program. And that, I mean, Gary is obviously the perfect guy to teach him this. And what drew me back to the sport was seeing Gary get back involved. And it's like, what other driver out there, what other, you know, there's only a few guys and they're all running their own programs that can do all this. And so, I mean, that's what I want. I want a complete guy. So when we call Gary the Jedi, you know, you know, it's because he completed the Jedi training, right? I mean, we all knew Luke Skywalker was pretty badass before he completed the training, right? Which is where a lot of these, but once you complete, you know, the whole gauntlet, you know, then you become a complete driver. And I think Gary wants to have a complete driver, and he did work with Matthias a lot, and he did have a very close deal with that. But except for the fact Matthias could not live and eat and breathe it with Gary and could not be part of his business development and everything. He still had, you know, lived across the country. So, I mean, that was logistically, it was just hard.
Yeah, he wants to be in a car.
And no one can, I would be a hypocrite to tell him not to want to be in the car, as obviously I wanted to be in the car. And,
absolutely. Many of us, we had that dream, many of us.
Yeah, I think most kids, I mean, and sometimes it takes a guy that still wants to be a car, a racer to be fast in karts, because he's got the drive to go out there and do the best he can. And, you know, you know, I mean, that was mainly my drive every race. I'm like, I win this thing because no one's going to ever want me to be in a race car. You know, I mean, and the realities kick in later that, you know, you have to be really good at finding sponsorship and meeting people and doing all the other aspects. But when you're first kart racing and you want to be the F1 driver, you know, your thought process is, I'm just going to haul ass and people are going to recognize me. Right. And that makes you fast, you know? Which comes to another topic, you know, I mean, I still talk with Scott Speed, and we, you know, he was a TrackMagic driver, actually before I was, and he won the 1995 Junior Championship at Pat Saker's on a TrackMagic, IKF Nationals, and which is the biggest thing you could do at the time, and so he had some history there. He reached out to me when he was down in Florida, and he's like, man, I really like to be on a TrackMagic. You know, of course, his dad runs all this other stuff, but he likes the history of it and was really impressed, and went over and talked to Gary about the karts and stuff. And you know, say what you say, I mean, he's run the gauntlet, but I mean, for a guy, you know, to go to Formula One, I have a respect for any American that makes it to Formula One, and there's just not very many, you know, and Scott and I obviously raced together for years, and we had respect for each other. And but I definitely I found it really nice that he still remembers the brand, likes the brand, and he has a real good history with the brand. And so does his brother too. You know, they both race, you know, TrackMagics and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but we all had our issues with Fausto over the years. I'm sure his dad did, and you know. But everyone in this group, we put aside the bad times and we remember the good, you know, because you know, Fausto was a hard man to work for, but he definitely demanded, you know, a good amount of respect and attention all the time, and he moved around and stuff with his ideas. So those guys were, you know, really good. But when it comes to drivers, you know, wanting to be in cars, and you look at guys that did do it, like Scott and even Bobby Wilson got up to Indy Lights, and you know, I ran up to Toyota Atlantic and won the F2000 championship that same year and stuff, and you know, and then a lot of my friends like Oliver Rowan went to the Star Mazda series and did very well in that, and we all dipped our toes in it, man. We all tried. And so, yeah, are we looking for a career go-kart racer, or are we looking for a racer? We're looking for a racer first. You know, if he has the opportunity to go to something else, and stuff, great. But if you bring all this knowledge with you that we're trying to install into the next TrackMagic driver, that Gary has and stuff, and he can commit to, maybe 2, 3, 4 years of, real, complete training. I mean, it could be really good. And, I think I'm really excited to see what happens here.
Yeah, no, it's exciting news. And, over the weekend, I was thinking, I'm going to reach out to Jason and have him come on so you could talk about the Pat Akers thing. And then when I saw the Facebook with Cole Shades, like, oh, this is like perfect timing. It's funny how that kind of stuff.
It literally posted like an hour ago. I mean, that's you're on top of it now,
Oh yeah, I already meant to. Since I didn't have your direct phone number, it's like, okay, I got to get into Facebook, send Jason a message. And yeah, in that time frame is when the Cole Shade announcement came out. It's like, oh, this is perfect.
Well, I hope people recognize this is a good deal for GFC and TrackMagic, but when I want people to know, or the whole racing community to know, that TrackMagic is gonna, you don't have to be the best. We're looking at getting, the most complete drivers, and Gary's team. If you just get involved with his team now, you're getting all that, and yeah, I mean, nothing's free, right? Maybe you got to pay to go play and stuff like that. But, if you get recognized and you can help that, team, or you can help a brand, and you see value, that's how Cole got this deal. And I really think it's probably the best deal in karting, because I don't think anybody in karting can do for a driver what Gary Carlton can do right now. I mean, in shifter karts for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with the results for the past couple of years. The results just speak for themselves. Well, since we're talking about Gary and Cole, and again, kind of promoting from within, or with the local guy, I've been trying to figure out a segue here, so I'm not very good at them because this is not my full-time job. Random question: Tri-City Kart Club. Have you ever been there?
I love Tri-City.
You love Tri-City.
I love Tri-City. I mean, I grew up racing Region 6 IKF stuff, and Gold Cup Series is what they called it. And I don't know if they still call it that or not, because I haven't been involved with the, all of the recent series up here. But the Region 6 IKF Gold Cup, man, we generated some of the best drivers of my time, and I couldn't get away from them, even all the way up into cars and Formula C World Championship, and I'll get to that. But Tri-Cities was my first out of town Gold Cup IKF regional race.
Okay.
Besides racing Pat Akers, I raced Pat Akers locally, and then my dad and I said, "Oh, we're going to venture up and do the regional series this year and the Gold Cup series." And the first race was Tri-Cities, and so we pulled up in my dad's '81 sports coach motorhome, towing I think we had a 16-foot TPD trailer, and I was racing junior sportsmen, and we unloaded my cart, and I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. I was so stoked. I was up there with some friends of mine. One of my best friends at the time that I raced with was Mike Rollison, so he was up there for his first big Gold Cup debut. And it was a full field. And the track is really cool. If you have never been to Tri-City. It's a neat track, yeah. Yeah, it actually held the 1986 IKF Grand Nationals, and a couple guys like Lynn Haddock and a few other guys said the straightaway wasn't long enough. And so they had to modify the track to hold the Nationals, and because they were running duels, back then. And so they extended the straightaway, and so now it's got this longer straight into this tighter turn that goes up into a bank and then comes back down. And I thought that was going to be so fun, except for when I went out the race, my first race ever, I got basically pinched off of that corner every heat. I never made it around turn one. Honestly, it was a horrible experience.
So you technically don't have a lap there?
Well, I raced there for years, but my first time, I couldn't even, besides practice, I couldn't get a race lap in because I couldn't get through turn one. And I went through, all I remember doing is mounting up new side pods and bending my Nerf bar in the trailer hitch and trying to re-drill and put it back together so I could go back out. And in the meantime, Mike Rawlinson goes out there and smokes everyone, and I was like, crap, we've usually run pretty close to each other and stuff. And then, and then this kid walks up to me, and he's got glasses on, and, he's pretty short, and he's first year in junior sportsman, and got a really bright colored suit on, and he goes, hey, he's like, I see you out there, and he goes, and I go, yeah, I'm not having a very good weekend, and he's like, oh, well, do you see me? And I go, yeah, I did see you. And he's like, yeah, I'm really fast. And I go, yeah, you are really fast, and he's like, yeah, no. And he goes, yeah, my name's Michael. And I go, oh, it's nice to meet you, Michael. And he's like, yeah, I run a Tibby cart. And lo and behold, that was my introduction to Michael Valiante.
Okay.
Who, my history with Michael Valiante was long and competitive. We did everything from, that was the initial meeting, and then we raced all the juniors together until I moved up first because I'm older than he is. And then, of course, we went and raced the Constructors Cup in WKA. We ran SCUSA events. We ran the 97 World Championship in Ugento and Formula C together, not in the same team. We always ran against each other, and we had a rivalry for a while where it was ugly, and I think we took each other out in Norway, Illinois at a Constructors Cup event, and then he ended up getting underneath me at Marshalltown, and I ended up climbing over the back of his cart and having to pull my cart across the finish line. And I mean, it was kind of ugly for a bit, but then it got even worse. We got into race cars, and he got into Barber Dodge before I did, and I went into Mazdas, and then he got some money to go run with Lynx, and I was running F2000. He ran out of money, so Steve Cameron and Richard Cameron that ran Lynx and Cameron Motorsports called me up and said, hey, would you like to run the last 3 races of the Atlantic season because Michael's out of money? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. I go, but would I be considered for the free ride, the 2-year free deal? Because David Rutledge was going to, basically, his contract was up. And they said, well, yeah, if you bring the money and run the last 3 races, then, Michael right now is in, quote, not good standing with us. And I said, okay. So I went to my sponsor, came up with a ton of money, signed my life away like an idiot, like any kid would, and basically ran the last 3 races of the year. And then, that was, then lo and behold, at the end of that whole deal, Steve Cameron became the U.S. importer for a Tau cart. Michael Valiante got the ride, and Steve Cameron was no longer the TrackMagic dealer anymore. And so it was a long history with them, but we still respect each other, I think. I don't know. I'm friends with his dad on Facebook, but his dad was always funny, man. He told me in Norway after I think I took out Michael on that one. I'm not sure. But he told me, he's like, it's better to be a lion for a day than a lamb for a lifetime. And I remember that, and I was like, shit, I really want to win the championship,
Yeah.
But in any case, we had a long history, but Michael and I and get back to it. Okay, so Tri-Cities, great place.
Yeah, and the reason I bring up Tri-Cities, people are going, dude, your Norcal Karters, that was a terrible segue. Yeah, everyone's right, all of the above. Let me give them a quick plug on why I'm plugging them. So
there you go.
This weekend, Robert had reached out to me last week and said, "Hey, do you think you can help promote our event?" And again, on our calendar, we have 3 big events going on this weekend in Norcal Karters. And on the phone, I just said, "Yeah, if it was a different weekend, not a problem. But I mean, we have 3 races. We got Sonoma, we have Reno, we have Fresno, and I'm going to feel really odd promoting your event, pulling Norcal Karters out of the area to go support your event." And then when you came on, it's like, wait a second, this is perfect. You're from the Northwest. Tri-Cities is in the Northwest. They had their big night race going on this weekend. And then you and I off the air, we were talking about the Tri-Cities place, and you just had these stories like, no, save them, because this will be a perfect segue. Yeah. And for those that want more information, you can go to Tri-City Kart Club. They're on Motorsports Reg. They're on Facebook. Facebook is TCKC. Look them up. But again, they have their night race this weekend, which is August 22nd. So go check them out. And sorry for the terrible segue. Not so sorry. But yeah, go ahead. Tri-Cities.
Tri-Cities, fan. So also that is where I first met Joey Odenthal, and he at the time had just won the IKF Nationals back in, he was back in the Midwest somewhere. I can't remember that year. I didn't go to that one, but he won, and he was current national champion, and I was envious, and I was just a kid in junior sportsman, and he came in our motorhome bullshitting with my dad about everything, and I instantly was like, man, this guy is so funny, and we had such a good conversation, and we became really good, friends over the year, because racing with watching Odenthals was who we looked up to as juniors. We watched Stan Owsley, who was from, I believe, Tri-Cities. We watched like Todd Ropo and Joe Odenthal and David Odenthal, and they'd go out there and read rotary, light and heavy, and dice it up. I believe Joey one time took his black helmet in Tri-Cities and came off on the scales, and that helmet, I don't know if it was more than once, but one time it went rolling. I think he tossed that thing all the way down the fence line, and all we saw was a black helmet rolling all the way down. And we're like, oh, that's Joey, but later he became that relationship continued, and George Barrows met him when we were down in Medford running one of the Gold Cup races, and then we got him on a Formula A kart when TrackMagic decided to compete in the Constructors Cup in Formula A, because we weren't just trying to set the world on fire in shifters. They just figured we'd just try to win everything, I guess. But Joey actually got 3rd place at Pat Saker's on a TrackMagic in that Formula A at the Constructors Cup, which was pretty good because, coming from a American manufacturer trying to compete, with our own motors and everything at that time, it was really difficult. So Joey did real good. But yeah, that's all from Tri-Cities. I met Valiante, I met Odenthals, I met a lot of these guys from sport, Rollison, of course, with, his whole program now. And, you talk about players that have been around for a long time. Tri-Cities generated a lot of good racing, and a lot of good people, grew up racing there. So it wasn't too far from everyone. It's if you've ever been to Eastern Washington, it usually has pretty decent weather, and the facilities there was always, for the time, it was one of the nicest places. And I never got to go to the 86 Nationals or wherever, but another story about that, though, is my first go-kart was an Emic, and it was a dual chassis, raced at that race in Tri-Cities against guys like Lynn Haddock. I can't remember the name of the driver that we got it from, but I ended up, that's what I put my first motor on, because my dad wouldn't buy me a new go-kart, because I went through skateboards, RC cars, and he was like, I'm not buying you anything unless you're serious. So anyway, I put that thing together, but that kart was basically ran up there, and it was one of the last go-karts built for the factory team Emick by Gary Emick, Ronnie's dad. So I always liked the story behind the go-kart, but of course, you know, I don't know how it did or whatever, but it did link to Tri-Cities, because that was probably one of the last nationals where, you know, all the big guns showed up with duels, and those are nuts to watch. If you, you know, I mean, shifter kart racing's cool, but you ever watch a whole field of duels? I mean, oh my God. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen them at like the vintage track days and stuff, and it just it blows me away how fast they accelerate.
Yeah, unbelievable. And you know, watching, you know, guys like, you know, Ronnie and Lynn Haddock in the day, which were it's career kart racers, you know.
Yeah,
they were, you know, you can't, you know, they're just amazing. And you know, for me, I mean, this is guys that was. For me, when I was racing 20 years prior, it was those guys. For right now, like guys like Cole, 20 years prior was me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny looking back, you know, like, you know, and you seeing the influence, you know, and stuff like that. But in any case, yeah, I hope those guys have a really good event up there. I hope the weather holds. It's been some thunder showers and some weird stuff going on lately. And, you know, tropical storm Fausto is going to hit San Francisco, and so there's a lot of weird weather going on.
Oh, it's crazy. It's been 103 to 108 where I live. It rained last night. It drizzled the day before. It's like, what is going on here? It's like, this is not Florida.
Yeah, I honestly, it is weird this year, the weather, but.
Well,
yeah, I think it's going to be really good in September at Pat's Acres. That's our prime weather up here. So if you're thinking Oregon's rainy, normally not in September. We have a killer Indian summer up here. So yeah, nobody freak out about it. But if it does rain, hey, it's a really fun track in the rain. So, you know, you can't
yeah, and you know what? It's supposed to be about the event anyhow, and having fun. And they have a clubhouse at the track, so if it does rain, just duck into the clubhouse. Most of us all have easy ups. Like you said, there's gonna be a bunch of motorhomes and RVs, and it's gonna be a cool event. I mean, this is, again, we just need more of these in karting, which is why I'm so heavily behind stuff like this. And I mean, Pat's Acres is not in NorCal karting territory. I kind of
I heard there's only a 1% chance you're not coming.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, it's on my calendar, and I'm not going to use the word I'm going to try to go, because
do or not do or whatever.
Yeah, there is no try. Do or do not. There is no try. Yoda, right. Thank you for the life advice.
Yeah.
Well, and on the Facebook group I posted a couple of pictures of the TrackMagic I bought. And then I followed up the pictures with,
your wife?
Yeah, my wife.
The expression was cracking me up, dude.
Yeah.
I can imagine when you, I don't know, could you shut the back of her SUV? Because it looked like it was hanging out.
It was hanging out. So that TrackMagic, when I bought that one, I just had to get it out of the guy's shop like that day. And
wow.
So I just moved it somewhere else till I grabbed my truck. But then the other one was the 80 TrackMagic with, wait till my wife finds out I bought another cart, and this cart wants to be on the track and can be on her birthday weekend.
Oh man, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, so
She's got to be the coolest person ever, because I do dumb all the time, and my wife has to be really cool, because I you know, maybe I don't make the greatest decisions, you know, all the time, you know, but I get that. When I saw her look, that facial expression, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, oh dude.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We played that one up a little bit for Facebook, but The way I
Yeah.
told her about Pat's Acres was I screenshotted the conversation from Facebook, and then I texted to her.
Nice.
I didn't even tell her. I just texted it to her.
Man.
And then her response is, "Oh, I guess we're going on a vacation." I go, "What do you mean?"
You know, I'm gonna pad this for you a little bit, but there is incredible winery within a mile of the track called Aurora Colony Vineyards. There's, of course, Oregon Pinot is very popular in the area.
It is.
The
yeah.
track is surrounded by a river, has a nice swimming hole. You can float out there in an inner tube if you want.
Yep.
It is right next to fur farms where you can go get sandwiches, and they have all the animals out there. If you have kids and you want to bring them up, that's right next to Pat's Acres, right up by the Aurora Airport. You're just south of Wilsonville. There's an amusement center there and stuff. You're not out in the middle of nowhere with Pat's Acres. You are basically right south of Portland. And Portland hasn't been too appealing in the news. You are far enough away. You aren't going to have a problem. You're going to have lots of other things to do in the area. It's very, very beautiful, especially that time of year.
You know what? I have family in the area, but two, you guys have this breakfast place in Lake Oswego called Babica Hen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I've almost hopped on Southwest just to go up there for their corned beef hash.
They had a second location
in Dundee,
and they just had to close it.
Oh,
yeah, in Dundee,
really?
I went there. Yeah, Dundee had the second, and they just closed it, but I guess they're opening it up somewhere else now. But yeah, I agree with you. That place. What is it? The big thing? They're into the waffle thing, and it was. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but Oliver Rowan is a very. I call him a food snob to an extent because he's from the Bay Area, and so we took him there, and he was impressed. So I guess if anybody really needs, justification. He would be credible, to prove it's a good place to eat. But yeah, you're right.
It's for
that's
sure.
Cool
I'm
you've been up here.
There.
Oh yeah, you got to get up there, but you got to get there at the right time. That place is crowded all the time.
Oh, I know. It's always packed. That's always
awesome.
packed.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to cover?
Well, I think, people should know, it is a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday thing. We're mainly setting up on Friday and getting everybody's stuff going. And then right now, the tentative schedule, Saturday is going to be show and shine in the morning or carts and coffee type deal. And, we had awards last year. They're kind of unique. It's not, cookie cutter stuff like you're the prettiest go-kart, type guy. But we will have some, unique awards for different people and what they've done and what they bring. And then, of course, Saturday after 6 p.m., there'll be a rental kart team endurance event that'll be judged on more than just performance. And then there's also going to be a lot of more driving time on Sunday, just so you didn't make the trip and feel like, oh, man, I didn't get to drive my kart enough. Because we all know, at least us 40, or older guys, we're definitely just still going to be fresh on Sunday, right?
Yeah. Well, and then here's the deal. For those that haven't been to Pat's Acres, you're not going to do more than 30 laps anyway. The track is just, it's not bumpy. And it's not bumpy at all. But when you hit the track just right, it's like a roller coaster. And, I mean, it gets the G's going. There's good hard braking. You got that long straightaway. Turn one, you got that bowl almost. So if you're not a Gary Carlton or a Cole Shade and that's in the cart all the time, maybe we should do an over-under bet for 30 laps, 30 laps under, and see who can make it.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the endurance race thing is that, pit stops are mandatory. And I'm thinking, we're just going to need a lot of them.
Yeah. And then for those...
That's going to be the whole key to the victory, right?
Yeah, and then for those of you that don't know what the track is like, go on YouTube and look it up. You really are driving through the trees. It's just such a. If you've ever gone camping and thought to yourself, this would make a beautiful place for a kart track, that's Pat's Acres. It just is so much fun.
Yeah, and it's wider now too. If you look at the videos now, you got it 5 to 6 feet of width in certain areas, and the entrance, which has been forever a gravel, dusty road, is now paved all the way in. So if you have a nice car and you're in the area and you just want to drive your hot rod or your convertible over for the day, guess what? It's not going to get messed up. So
nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a really cool deal he did. And it is surrounded by a river. And it used to be, when I was little, the dike would wash out, and then we couldn't go racing until they repaired the dike, because the river could cut through and cut you off. And, of course, I used to have cows on there too, which, if, you didn't know what it took to become a really good driver in the rain, is the cows were allowed to go out and eat the grass around the racetrack. Of course, cows leave, giant cow pies. So when you learned to race in the rain at Pat's Acres, you had to be good, because you went off, you didn't get wet, you got full of it. And it was horrible. So, there's a lot of good rain racers came out of this track.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah, I mean, you got Kyle Wick, Joey Wimsett, in the pro classes. That's just the two that popped to my mind right this second. I know there's a bunch more.
Yeah, I mean, currently a lot of guys are out there training all the time from the Rollison group.
Yep. And, that's right. The whole the Rollison crew. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course Mike himself was a great driver from Pat's. Of course, Cooper Buckland, who ran the FC and runs for PSL, he's out there all the time, because I met him and his dad on the airplane flying back from the Supernats. And so, yeah, there's been quite a few great drivers. And of course, Chris Hager and his family, and you've probably seen them, and they've been involved with SCUSA for years. They've been involved last year with the IKF Nationals that they, rejuvenated, I should say. They just, they're just an asset to the whole sport. And they, right now, Dalton and Chris are really helping put on this event. So big thanks to them. I just can't say enough. You will be impressed, and you're just going to be disappointed everywhere else you go run a go-kart this year after coming to our event.
Very cool. Well, that's a perfect way to wrap this thing up, I think. So September 25th, 26th, 27th, Pat's Acres in Canby, Oregon. TrackMagic owner. Is there an official name for it? But you got the TrackMagic owners group. But I called it the Pacific Northwest Party.
We're just calling it a TrackMagic Rally. We're calling it the 2020 TrackMagic Rally.
Okay.
And there's kind of a hidden reason behind it. Rallies are legal right now, no matter what's going on. So this event will happen. So, and everything is there's lots of events happening out there, but it is going to be called the 2020 TrackMagic Rally, and it open to everyone. Of course, the bread box style go-karts in that era are going to be well represented. But it's going to be fun, and we're going to have things for kids. I did not mention that, but I'm going to have some things for kids. I've got small kids. A lot of people are bringing up kids. The place is like a playground in itself, so it's going to be fun.
You just gave me a great idea. My kid's doing distant learning, so it's we're just going to do really distance learning.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna. I don't know, but I'm just gonna say the internet's awesome, and if it's not, then you can get mad. But I'm pretty sure you can do distance learning. Everybody that's not in school right now, come to Pat Takers.
That's right. And if you are, distance learn.
Yep, that's right.
Well,
That's
perfect. Well, Jason, thanks for taking time out of your day. This is I had fun with this one.
Yeah, me too. It's awesome. I'm so glad you reached out on this deal, and I'm really glad you're coming up. And if everyone doesn't know, I'm trying to get him to be on the microphone, and I'm putting you on the spot. But I mean, I think it'd be fun. I mean, I think you'd do an awesome job. But I'm not holding you to it. I'm just saying.
We're definitely going to talk about it because I actually have some other ideas to go along with that as well.
All right, man.
But yeah, I think that could be
good.
fun. Actually, you're going to understand this inside. It's not too inside, but maybe I could call Valiente, see if he can make it, and maybe make this thing full circle, if you know what I'm talking about.
We should do it. We should do it. And just tell him he'll be a lamb for not coming.
That's going to be my next phone call.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's such a great story,
Claudia.
though. Yeah, it's such a great story because I'm sitting here thinking I have a TB cart hat sitting on my desk, and yeah, when you're telling that story, it's just like, where is this going? It's like, oh, this is great.
Well, I invited Rollison too. And Mike and I were talking on Facebook Messenger, and he's going to come down if that whole. I mean, from what we hear, Streets of Lancaster is probably not going to happen. That SCUSA event because. Gathering a bunch of people in the streets in California may not happen right now. So if that's a for sure deal, then he said he would come, and check it out too. And I got one of my FV TrackMagic carts being worked on by Shark Shifter right now, and Mike Gint, and so him and stuff, they're probably going to show up too. And there's a lot of guys in the Northwest are, they like Pat Takers, and it's going to be a good time.
Well, and Pat Takers in that region, you obviously had California as the hub of the TrackMagic presence, but I always thought it was funny that TrackMagic was huge and a huge national presence out of that area, out of Pacific Northwest. Yeah, so I'm not surprised to hear that you have a bunch of guys up there.
Did pretty good back in the day. I mean,
the Allens.
Phil Carlson won the promoter tour, and you got them, and you had a bunch of dealers. Mike Gint was a TrackMagic dealer. My friend Ryan Fow, his dad was a TrackMagic dealer. Of course, Chris Knight and Knight Kart Supply was a TrackMagic dealer for a while. Isn't
it Ryan Pafua?
Yeah. Pafua. We'll tell us that. Pafua. So yeah, I mean, there was so much. I mean, and in Idaho, T.J. Ross and his dad Tom Ross and his brother, and that whole family, and James O'Brien, CKR, now, right?
That's right.
He's in Idaho. He represented a TrackMagic probably longer than anybody up in the Northwest. And I've sent him a few messages. I really like for him to come, but it'd be so cool if he could find his TrackMagic, which he sold a few years ago.
Number 6.
He could show up. Yep, that would be cool. So, but yeah, that group. Oh, also Craig Feiner out of Canada. He used to run for, the TrackMagic team that ran out of the Northwest back in the day with Howie Idelson and Dominic Cicero and a bunch of guys. He's got a go-kart track up there, and he just opened with Jacques Villeneuve, help design and as part of the track up in Edmonton, Canada, I believe.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, and I think he might. I don't know if the border shut down or whatever, but he's big into it, and he'd love to come down to it. He's been, obviously.
Last I heard is that there's 14-day quarantine if you go back. Last I heard.
Right. It may not be possible for him, but who knows what's going to happen in the next month, I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of support in the area. So we're hopefully this event's going to go off and it's going to be fun. And I think it's just going to make the group even bigger. If you look now, we're at almost 400 members. So it is still growing. In fact, I think I approved like 2 of them in the last hour. So yeah, it's going to be a good deal. I'd love to get some of the other guys from the Midwest out. Maybe there'll have to be an event there at some time, at some point, and then having one in and near, Sonoma would be great too. I mean, obviously taking it back home would be to San Fran. It would be a fun one. So we're not stopping, and it's going to be interesting. And if you didn't know too, Cold Shade is going to be running at Sonoma here. And so if you want to go out and support a TrackMagic, he's going to be at those events.
I have to be the bearer of bad news for this weekend. They're only allowing mechanics and drivers.
Oh, don't you have a press pass?
Yeah. Yeah, they're being pretty strict about that.
Well, maybe somebody will do what I said and do a Facebook deal so we all can, join in, because, I can't make it either. So.
I'll do that for you. I will be out there.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
You're the designated Facebook Live here with Jason Berry.
Yes.
I only film Coal Shade, and that'd be awesome.
I'll try not to get fired from my other gig, but yes, I'll do some Facebook Live for you guys.
There you go. You're going to get well compensated for this effort. And,
I do not drink Bud Light.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'll pick something a little more special then.
Okay, perfect. Well, cool. Jason, thank you very much. This is a lot of fun. And maybe as we get closer, we'll get Coal Shade on.
Get him on. Get him used to this. He's going to have to get really good at it, and you got to kind of probably train him, whip him in shape. Get him some zingers. Yeah,
because this career got me really far.
You got to ask him about, what girl he likes and, things outside racing. Get him rattled.
Yeah, I actually had Rory Vandister on. He's a national shifter pilot, and I had him on for my other podcast where I basically sell advertising spots for teams, and I go interview their drivers. And so my weird question of the day for him was, do you like your towels with or without fabric softener?
That's a good one, yeah.
And he just didn't know how to respond. He paused, and his was with fabric softener. So with that, Mr. LaPointe, with or without fabric softener on your bath towels?
I like it rough, man. Come on, you didn't have to ask me that.
So you like yours air line dried in the sun?
Yeah, no, I like it where it's wet and you hang it on there and it gets real, crusty and hard, and then, the rougher the better. That's too much information probably, but you asked me, so there you have it.
I did. And since I never answered the question, I effing hate fabric softener. I hate it. You grab a towel when you're wet and you rub it on your skin, and it's like it slides right off. It's like, no, I want a towel that absorbs the water. Otherwise, I would get a squeegee.
It's the smell for me is the problem. It's like fragrance is just, I don't get, it's an allergy thing. I can't handle that fragrance. Yeah, it's soft like that. Doesn't dry as good. You're right. Yeah, those are good reasons.
Yeah, so you don't like the Oregon rain fresh scent smell or the California summer? No. In fact, it's I'll probably break out in hives using something with too much. I like it rough, but I'm delicate on the rest of it, Yeah. I can't handle that type of deal. You got to
But this is really interesting. Now I feel like I know you way better now. Like, I mean, a little bit of personal information goes a long way when it comes to, our relationship.
We ask the hard-hitting questions here at Norcal Karters.
That was a good one. Yeah.
What karting journalism should be? Norcal Karters.
Well, it's supposed to be fun, and this is the type of conversation you're going to have at the TrackMagic rally at Pat's Acres. It's not about who's the best. It's about who prefers fabric softener or not. I mean, there might be an award for that. The best answer. I mean,
the best
might
answer.
have to make the biggest trophy there might have to do with this question.
A fabric softener question.
Yeah, I think you might win it. I mean, your answer was that good.
Like, I'm picturing a teddy bear with like a towel draped around like a what are those cloths? Like a Greek cloth.
No one's listening to us anymore, by the way.
I
They turned us off.
My mom already texted
yeah.
us, so you just lost your one listener.
Or we just gained a bunch of listeners because they didn't care about the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know. What is it? The white bear? The white bear that gets in all the towels and is all snuggly and has a little laugh. I mean, is this what we're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm picturing that.
Yeah.
Now there's a name for that bear, and if anybody can name that bear, that's worth an award because I don't remember the name. Cuddles. Is that it?
Cuddles.
No, I'm just making that up.
I don't know.
Sounds right. Yeah, that's important. This is where we end up, at the end of a karting conversation. And
Best in show, best karting story, best kart track, favorite fabric softener.
Favorite fabric softener. If we get to the serious questions, if you don't like Bud Light, is it IPA or is that too strong, or are you going back to like something in between, like Michelob Ultra, and you're watching your carbs?
No, I usually do drink Bud Light at the track because it's usually free and low calorie.
Yeah.
But my go-to is tequila.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that works.
Yeah, tequila or red wine is my go-to.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's some good tequila, so we'll have some.
Perfect.
We're gonna have it locked and loaded for you.
Well, that sounds good. And I'll see you guys up there in September.
Yep, we'll be here, and if anything changes, I'll feed you all the schedule stuff. Maybe that could be part of your next update, but we will be releasing more information here in the next few weeks.
Perfect. Sounds good, Jason.
All right, thanks.
No, thank you. Have a great afternoon.
All right, you too.
All right, bye.